Well, hello, I'm Doug Apple, back with another special interview for you today. It's a new year, but some of the same old problems as we go into the new year, and one of them is what is going on with healthcare, health insurance, the cost of healthcare, and we're going to dive into an article here, and the headline of the article says, Obamacare is just overly expensive, catastrophic health insurance. Now, many people, including I'm sure some of our listeners, have purchased health insurance through the health insurance exchanges, they call them. But this article says that exchange coverage is borderline useless. Now, if you're paying for this, you might be thinking, useless? I don't want to be paying for anything that's useless. This article also says the government is subsidizing, quote, junk insurance through the exchanges. A couple other phrases, and then we'll get on with our interview here. The phrase, those premium subsidies hide the actual cost of coverage. And then it says this, finally, in short, marketplace insurance often works like catastrophic coverage, only useful if someone suffers a 5-figure healthcare catastrophe. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it says that's not how these exchange coverages are advertised. That's the problem. You think you're getting one thing, but you're actually getting another and paying a lot for it when you thought you weren't paying a lot for it. And then finally, the article says many enrollees don't learn that their coverage won't offer them much help until they've made their first claims. We're going to unpack this a little bit with Mike Sharman. He's the legal counsel for Share Healthcare. That's a nonprofit healthcare sharing ministry, a Christian healthcare sharing ministry. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but let's talk about these healthcare exchanges and what they're offering, what they're advertising, what people think they're getting, and what they're actually getting with Mike Sharman. So, Mike, can you go ahead and unpack some of this for us?
Well, thanks, Doug, and thanks for introducing this topic. You know, there's a group, an association of all the insurance commissioners in the United States, the people who are the head of the insurance department in each one of the states, and that's called the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. And they send out fairly regularly negative press releases about health care sharing ministries, saying they aren't insurance and that they don't do everything that you would expect. They don't. Some of the things that they put in their press release are actually helpful. They don't pay for reproductive care. They don't do abortions and things like that. And that's true. But what I think is ironic is that National Association of Insurance Commissioners, as well as the government entities that promote these healthcare exchanges, health insurance exchanges, the Obamacare ones, they're saying that is good, and yet, without a doubt, if this were a private entity, it would be being sued for fraud over and over and over. The article that you mentioned is written by Sally Pipes, and she's piping up on this. She points out that it's not what we would want of providing health care for the poor, because this is actually these exchanges, the enhanced subsidies that this article is written about, is for people who are above the poverty level. If you're at 150% of the federal poverty level, you get it entirely free. If you get up to 400% of the poverty level, that is that your family is making $124,000 a year, that's you qualify for this subsidized premium. All right, so what do you get for that? If you're just a couple, just two people, not four, and you're here in Virginia, and you're making $80,000 a year between the two of you, which is, pretty normal income for a couple, then you'd be paying $417 a month for your Obamacare. Let's just use that simple phrase. Okay, so compare the criticized healthcare sharing ministry, Share Healthcare, and I don't mean to say that the National Association of Insurance Commissioners criticize us individually, but they criticize healthcare sharing ministries collectively. But let's use what Share Healthcare does. We're a 501c3 Christian ministry. We're a nonprofit, and we share the medically necessary medical expenses of our members. And for a couple, this couple that's paying $417 a month, we would charge $249. And I say by charge, that couple would send in $249 per month to help share the needs of others. Okay, so $249 versus $417. All right, so right there, we're doing better than Obamacare. But then what is it the couple within Obamacare gets? They have a 40% coinsurance, a 40% copay. So if they have a $100,000 bill, they're going to pay $40,000. And then they have a deductible per person of $17,200 on an annual deductible. Well, that's absolutely absurd. They're paying $417 a month. They have, as a couple, $14,400 deductible, and then they pay 40% copay after that.
So what do they think they're getting?
I think they think they're getting insurance. I mean, everybody that I've ever chatted with who has Obamacare, before they've actually submitted a bill, they think they're getting insurance that takes care of them. Like regular comprehensive care really is what they think. Now, those problems that I mentioned that couple will have with Obamacare, 40% copay, $14,400 annual deductible for just a couple. That's if they stay with the in-network care. If they go out of network, then they're going to wind up paying 100%. Now, with Share Healthcare, comparing that, we would share everything that is medically necessary that is not contrary to the Bible, which is pretty much everything. We don't share in abortions. We don't share in abortifacients. We don't share in tobacco misuse, alcohol misuse, drug abuse, those type of things. Well, we share. You have a kidney problem, we share in that. You break your leg, we share in that. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 babies, we share in that. So medically necessary things, not things you've inflicted upon yourself. And I don't mean stupid things like getting up on your ladder and putting lights up at Christmas when you really shouldn't be doing it. And you fall. Okay, well, we're still going to be sharing in that. And we share everything above $1,000 per event or per diagnostic treatment, take your choice. So let's say somebody goes to a doctor and just wants to have a checkup. Well, that's going to be $150, $250. And so they're going to pay for that. That's a load they can bear. The doctor has a concern. He says he wants them to have a full blood work. All right. Well, that's going to be probably about $800. So you're just tapping up against that $1,000 there. And so $1,000 of that would not be shareable. That's your load that you bear. But that blood work comes back, and the doctor says, I want you to have an MRI. Well, now you're, $2,000 to $6,000, $4,000 to $6,000, depending on where you are. And you're obviously above $1,000 for that course of treatment. It started when you went into the doctor, he had a concern, et cetera. All of that's shareable above $1,000. Now, if that MRI comes back and the doctor says, oh, good, well, I worried about nothing. Okay. And if it comes back and it says the doctor is really concerned and now you have a problem that's going to take years of treatment. Well, all of that is shareable because that's all in the same course of treatment. Now, compare that to Obamacare, which supposedly was done so people could actually rest easy. It isn't even comparable. And what I want people to be realizing is not so much these financial differences or the bait and switch that the government is doing, but I want them to realize the truth of Scripture. Because it's Scripture that tells us at 2 Corinthians 3:17, now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Remember I mentioned that Share Healthcare is a Christian ministry. It's a 501c3. We did all that application process, all that. We also have been approved by the CMS, that part of the government that approves healthcare sharing ministries for tax purposes, et cetera. But mostly what is the important thing our board are Christians. Our members are Christians. Our mission statement is Bible-centered. We try in every way we can to do what would please the Lord. And of course, our members are going to stumble. Our board will stumble. How we operate our programs sometimes will stumble. But we're going to be stumbling toward the Lord. And we have the Spirit of the Lord. And so we have liberty. And so it's $249 for a couple, $149 for a single, $349 for a family of four. Whereas the fake promise and the fake program of Obamacare is vastly more expensive and less effective. We have liberty, and they did the imposition on people of what they think they need. You know, if we just had it all secular but free, it would work so much better. You know, our nation was founded upon biblical Christian principles of just exactly this. Now, the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And the further we get away from that basic premise, the more totalitarian we will become, the more authoritarian, and the less effective. And we can just see this perfectly here.
So it seems to me like it might be a 1-2 punch of, I'll say the word, the greed of the business side of it, and then the politics, 3 parts to it, I guess. The politicians wanting to maintain power, the business people wanting to rake in the cash, but the market would balance all that out, except for then you also have the people who want free health care, right?
Right. Well, you started your question, let's say, with saying it's greed. Well, it is greed. It's greed from the individuals pushing their politicians who step right into the lap of the big insurance entities, the big hospitals that want their driving force to be money, greed. All right, well, you take away the ability of politicians to force people into situations, and that self-interest of people that we began with, the greed of people who want something for free. Well, they know they aren't going to get it for free because the totalitarian government's not going to give it to them. You don't have a totalitarian government where you have liberty. And so if you have a government that is focused on let's let people make decisions, people will know they're not getting something for free. They're going to have to pay for it. Now, what is the best bargain I can get? What is the best solution for me and my family? And so the entire healthcare industry will lower in price if you do that, because we'll have true competition. We're not going to have monopolies. We're not going to have oligarchies. We're not going to have authoritarian governments saying you have to do things. I mean, one of the epitomes of the absurdity of this whole Obamacare program is the fact of open enrollment. Again, another false statement. It's not open. It's compelled that you can only switch or join between November and late December. Sometimes with some of them, you can do it into the middle of January. But this is a very finite period of time that you can enroll or switch. There's nothing about free market in that. Well, with Share Healthcare, you can join us any time of the year. You can do it if you have insurance. You can do it if you don't have insurance. You can join us any time of the year because we have freedom. We have invited the Spirit of the Lord in, and where that Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. You don't have that with Obamacare. You are forced into this situation or that. Now, the structure that we talked about, this couple, at the 40% coinsurance, the amounts of deductible, et cetera, well, those are all dictated to the companies by the government. That's not what the companies came up with. They just try to figure out how can they do it most efficiently so they get the maximum profit out of it, et cetera. But that's pushed upon them. The whole issue of the 150 to 400% of poverty level, that's pushed upon them. And the basic premise of all this, we need to give people health care. Well, it was better before Obamacare. And the people who were uninsured, the true poor, they've always had health care. It's always been there. And this just completely distorts it all. We need to be, as we're coming into this new year, new administration, new Senate, new Congress, new agency heads, we need to be encouraging those actions that are geared toward liberty, and this will be at your state level also. Encourage those actions that are geared toward liberty, and discourage those that would force you into one situation or the other, or would only be good for one family on your block and not everybody. We need to realize also as Christians that liberty benefits everyone, not just Christians. It tends to benefit Christians the most because then we aren't going to be hurt. We're going to be able to practice what we want, etc. But true liberty helps everyone, which is one of the geniuses of our founding fathers. They understood that. For we're all endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Well, if people want to find out more about Share Healthcare, what should they do next?
Well, they can hop onto the World Wide Web and go to sharehealthcare.com, or they can call 1-844-SHARE-HC, 1-844-SHARE-HC. And because we want to give the employees of Share Healthcare liberty to enjoy their family, we're just open during business hours. So if it's after business hours, hop on to sharehealthcare.com, look over that. You can join from there, but then call maybe the next day if you have some questions. Share 1-844-SHARE-HC.
All right, that's Mike Sharman with Share Healthcare. Again, the website sharehealthcare.com. And for Wave 94, we wish you a Happy New Year. And I'm Doug Apple.